Welcome to the Elevate Effect, the official podcast of Cedar Hill, Texas. I am your host, Mayor Stephen Mason. As the highest point from the Red River to the Gulf of Mexico, our thriving city is elevated in more ways than one. We will have great conversations with thought leaders and change makers, answer community questions submitted by you, and share important city happenings. Now, we are live from the Poetic Justice Studio at the Trafine Hickman Library in 3, 2, 1. Thank you for a great season 1 of the Elevate Effect. Now I want to share with you the best of our first season. Episode 1, Raising All Stars. Now joining me is Jeremiah Hernandez, a member of the Cedar Hill Mayor Teen Council, whose academic achievements earned him a full-ride scholarship to Southern Methodist University. Now, receiving a scholarship is a major achievement of itself, but to receive one from a private institution is just out of this world amazing. As someone who grew up right here in Cedar Hill, I am really looking forward to learn more about how this community impacted Jeremiah's journey. I am very excited. The real reason why I wanted to have this podcast is because we have so much talent that come out of Cedar Hill. And I just don't think that there's enough stories that comes out of it. So I want you to be able to tell me, you got this great accomplishment. You got a full ride scholarship from Southern Methodist University. That's a private institution. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel like really proud of myself, but also the people around me in my community that I helped get me to where I'm at today. You know, Cedar Hill is really a home of development. It's where leaders are born, was what they say around here, and I truly stand by that. You know, I've met a lot of great people along my journey along Cedar Hill, and it just taught me that I always got to believe in myself. I always have a back to lean on, a shoulder to lean on. It's just been an amazing experience and feel very achieving to help, like, acknowledge the people around me that have helped me get here.
So which middle school did you go to?
I went to Premier Middle School.
So I went to Premier Middle School as well. And did you play any sports when you was going through
I played
middle school, high school?
Middle school, I played 7th grade football, and then in high school, I played freshman football.
Okay. Were there any funny moments you going through?
I don't know if we call it funny, but, you know,
Okay.
just drastic moments. But in those moments, you kind of build like a community and friends. I remember like doing bear crawls with my buddies just all the time, sweating, going down the back of the field.
All right. Remember bear crawls. Yep. I'll tell you, there's a slogan that we had when I was in Cedar Hill, and it was actually in my 7th grade year. And I'm just curious if you know this one. But it says, "It's a good day
To be a Longhorn."
To be a Longhorn.
Always.
I love it. I love it. Jeremiah, I can tell that, believe it or not, you are a role model for others. There's others that's going to be looking up to you, maybe listening to this podcast, you know, don't know where they want to, you know, go to the next level after high school. But tell us, is there any words of wisdom that anyone who has any aspirations that you would like to give to them today?
For sure. I'm not a gambling man, but if I do some gambling, it's going to be on myself. You know, it's always going to be able to gamble on yourself, take chances, take a risk. Don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Okay, I like that. And I am a alumni of Cedar Hill ISD. I appreciate the fact that I'm giving back to my community. That really means a lot to me. It's in my heart to be able to try to just give back. If there's any words of wisdom, anything I could be able to give back, if I could just change one mind, that's why I do what I do.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's any advice that I can be able to give to you, is to be able to pay it forward and see if you can be able to go out and try to help others.
Yeah.
All right. Episode 2, Best Place for Businesses. Please welcome Mike Tansey, the Southwest Division President of Pratt Industries. And we have Brianna Gonzalez, owner of the Social Chica, a co-working space in downtown Cedar Hill.
Just a little bit about my background. It's always been in marketing. When I graduated, or I went to school for advertising, but when I graduated, I ended up at a marketing agency. And then after that, I just kind of focused on my business that the Social Chica that I opened or created in college. And at first, it was just more like a branding, logo design company, just a way to make money. in school. And then after that, when I was kind of just focusing more on my business, I then went on to a nonprofit, which again was a co-working space. So I think I've just always been in that industry or area, which inspired me to create one and bring it here to Cedar Hill.
Well, I'm glad you did. So thank you for coming to Cedar Hill. Mike. So just to make it brief, because I'm quite older than you guys. I started, I went to Denton High School, went to North Texas, got in the corrugated industry when I was 26, ended up jumping to private industries in 2000. I started as a stint as a sales manager in our New Orleans facility. About 2 years later, got promoted to general manager in Richmond, Virginia. And then soon after that, I went to Humboldt, Tennessee, right outside of Jackson, Tennessee, about 90 miles from Memphis, and went there and I started our one of our corrugated manufacturing companies. From there, I came back to Dallas in about 2005 as a general manager and vice president of sales. And shortly after that, got a call from our global chairman, Brian McFeely, and he asked if I wanted to continue opening plants and kind of be over the Southwest, and I wholeheartedly agreed, and here we are today. As an entrepreneur, business owner myself, I resonate with what you deal with on a daily basis. I'm sure our listeners will be able to connect with your stories as well. If you was to give one advice, questions for both of you, to our listeners who's aspiring to be a top executive or an entrepreneur, what would that be?
You want to go first?
Go ahead.
Well, I think for me, my biggest thing was I was always scared to ask questions. I've never really had the confidence to do so. So once I started to, kind of get over that and started asking questions and just leaning on people for help, I was able to get a lot further, not only in my business, but kind of just the business education side of things. And I was really able to find people who would not only help me, whether it's asking questions, but support me through all of my business operations, and even just connecting with local organizations. So that's another thing is, don't be afraid to ask questions, but also collaborate and just work together.
Great. Mike, any advice? I'm taking notes. Yeah, I've kind of lived by a few principles. As you know, I have 3 beautiful daughters, and I tell them they're getting into the age now. We have one graduated, one's just getting out of school, and one going into school, so they'll be hitting the workforce. Actually, our oldest, she actually works at Pratt. She's in customer service, Texas Tech grad, and so we're real proud of her. The other 2 are employed, but have not found their career yet. But I tell them all the time, I say, girls, you got to find something that you love. If you find something that you love, at the end of the day, and figure out how to make money doing it, it's a win-win, because nobody wants to get up in the morning and go to a job that they dislike. I mean, it's just a miserable life. I've been there before. I love what I do now, and so that's a key principle. Also, continuing education, whether you have a trade, you look at the box business, you look at the corrugated industry. When I started 30 years ago, technology has come such a long way, and you have to stay on top of it. So you have to stay on top of technology, you have to stay on top of your trade, your career, and then you have to be committed, and you have to work hard. And I know, as you know, as an entrepreneur, it's 16-hour days. Sometimes it's 12-hour days. It's Saturdays. It's Sundays, and you just have to be committed. And even on the bad days, you still got to show up and work hard. So, and then the final thing I think, Mayor, is you have to take some calculated risk. If you just sit and wait for things to happen, it's not going to happen. So, I think a good calculated risk is a great trait of an entrepreneur or an executive.
On episode 3, The Natural Heart of the Metroplex.
Today, I am joined by 2 outdoor enthusiasts who really know and love our city natural assets. I am excited to introduce Irene Ogeto, also known as the Black Hiking Queen, on social media, where she has over 40,000 followers. Irene uses her platform to promote spending time outdoors through hiking and travel. And we are joined by our very own Katie Chrisman, the City of Cedar Hill's Nature and Open Space Coordinator. Katie's job is all about understanding and showcasing the natural wonders and outdoor activities our city offers. I am definitely looking forward to hearing her perspective. So, welcome, Irene and Katie. It's fantastic to have you both here on the show. When did you discover your passions for the outdoors? And Irene, we'll begin with you.
I think for me, I've always been drawn to the outdoors. I grew up playing outside as a kid. My parents didn't make a lot of money, and so we just spent a lot of time outdoors. Me and my sisters and my siblings and brothers, we would always just find ways to keep ourselves busy, and it was always outside. So we would play, hopscotch. We would play on the playground. We would come up with games. And so for me, I feel like I've always been drawn to the outdoors. However, it wasn't until I was an adult that I discovered a different kind of outdoors, as I like to call it, camping, hiking, and backpacking. I got introduced to that when I was in college. I helped plan a camping trip for my church when I was in college. And it's kind of funny because at the time I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know anything about camping. I didn't know anything about hiking. But somehow managed to pull through. We went to Lake Ray Roberts. And I just remember feeling absolutely incredible to be able to disconnect from the rest of the world and connect with nature. And so ever since I started, hiking and camping more, and I've just continued doing it. And now I just can't imagine my life without, the outdoors, because I really truly believe that it has changed my life.
Yeah, well, I can tell by your passion.
Yeah.
Katie, you are a friend of the City of Cedar Hill. Now, obviously, you are employed by the city, but tell us about what is your passion? What draws you to the outdoors?
Yeah, my story is similar to Irene. I grew up in a very small rural town in upstate New York. And, we were so far from things. It wasn't like, you could be like, go to the arcade. It would be like an hour drive to the arcade, And it was, as kids, my parents worked and they provided what they could for us. But my mom would be like, you're driving me crazy. So you either do chores or you go outside, going outside. And so we would play. And, we had big gardens. My parents have a tree farm. We have a little creek that runs through our front yard. And so that's where we spent most of our time growing up. And it was just kind of a way of life for us, I think. We'd build a fort. We'd go to explore outside in the woods. And I remember as a kid putting worms in my pocket, and then they go through the dryer. My mom was like, why? Why is this my life? Or my dad would be like, here's a snake. Take the snake. And, I still love snakes to this day. And it just kind of grew on me, I think, as a child. Just that was part of our life and something I still love to this day. And growing up, having opportunities, I remember in junior high school, my science teacher said, hey, there is this camp, and it's still ongoing now. New York State has a special environmental education conservation camp that you can go to. He's like, we want to sponsor you with my garden club to go. And I got to go for a week, and it was everything, you want to think nerdy, it was true blue nerdy, environmental stuff. And I loved it. And I ended up going for years. I ended up working for them for a couple seasons. But it just, I think once you get hooked into that, you're like, oh my gosh, let me explore more. And then I started to get into birds. I remember in college, my biology professor, we went to Florida on a field study trip. And I had these binoculars from Walmart, $15. And he's like, do you have a field guide? And I was like, nope, I have nothing. And he handed me my first Sibley's field guide, which I still have in my office. It's held together, not very well, but he's like, you need a Sibley's. And that's kind of, I don't know, that kind of got me hooked. And I knew going into school, I wanted to work with people, but I wanted to work outside. I wanted to teach, and I wanted to work with wildlife. And so stepping into the field that I do allowed me to do that. I was like, I don't want to be stuck inside all day. I want to be outside. I want to be working with people. And so that's kind of how I kind of got into the world that I'm in now.
Well, before I let you go, I'm going to put you on the spot. And I would love to be able to hear some funny story, awkward story that we can close the show off with. So any volunteers to go first?
Sure, I'll go first.
All right.
I really love to camp, and right now I'm working on trying to hit all the Texas state parks. And a couple of years ago, I was excited, headed down to Inks Lake State Park and got all my gear and getting ready, and I'm setting up my camp and everything. And I'm like, something's off. Something's weird here. I'm missing something. And I'm like, what am I missing? And I go to set up my tent, and I'm like, I don't have my tent. And I'm supposed to be 4 days at Inks Lake. And I'm like, it's nice enough. I can sleep outside, right?
Okay.
I got this, right? So the first night wasn't so bad. It was cool enough, and it's really cool when you wake up and there's deer around and everything. And I was like, okay, not so bad. Second night was a little bit worse. It got humid, it started to rain a little bit, and mosquitoes started to come out. And I'm sitting there like trying to hide my face so then they don't get into my bag. And then it was really weird because at like 2 a.m. I woke up and I was like, there's something that's watching me. And I turn around and I'm face to face with a skunk. And I jump and he jumps, and I was like, I think I'm done. And I spent the rest of the evening sleeping in my car.
You glammed up a little bit?
Yeah, to my car. So from then on, I like triple check all my stuff, and I now have a tent and I have a hammock. So I have double duty, but it was funny. I mean, you live and you learn, right?
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
That was funny. My funny story, I'm going to go back to the very beginning of my camping journey. So that very first trip that I planned for my church, at the time, like I said, I didn't know what I was doing. So I had booked a campsite that is considered a primitive campsite. And now I know that primitive means that it's a campsite that you have to hike to. At the time, I didn't know. And so we had packed up all our gear and everything in the car. And as soon as we got there, we realized that it was primitive, which means you have to hike to it. And I think the hike was like a mile hike. And I just remember at the time just feeling so bad because we had to lug everything about a mile. And we're talking like coolers, tents, all the food. And so that for me was just kind of like a shock, like, oh my goodness. So I guess that's kind of my funny story, just, getting out there and having to lug everything there and back was kind of funny. We can laugh about it now, but at the time we were struggling.
Yeah.
So
it just goes to show whenever you go camping, you're going to get, adventure. You're going to get your story. But I can imagine it's probably the best time to meditate once everything kind of quiets down and the moon is high and the stars are bright.
Yeah. I can't believe you slept out there. I would have been in my car.
I know. A lot of people are a little surprised, but I figured it's beautiful, and my car wasn't as big. It's not a big car. And so I was like, well, let me try it and see what happens.
You're braver than me.
Yeah.
I would have been in my car night one.
The episode 4, we named it Good Roots, Family Life in Cedar Hill.
To jump into today's conversation about what makes our city a great place to live and raise a family. From our top-rated schools to our overwhelming neighborhoods and countless community activities, I am so proud of what Cedar Hill has to offer to our residents. Joining me today are two special guests with a unique and important perspective on family life here in Cedar Hill. Dr. Trevina Nelson is the principal of Plummer Elementary School and a proud mom of 2 Cedar Hill High School graduates. She is at the forefront of our schools and community shape young minds. Also joining us is Francesca Alvarado, a local realtor, pastor, and mom who is deeply involved in our community. Francesca knows what makes our neighborhood special and why families love to call Cedar Hill home. Dr. Nelson, you have had, so much success that you have had here in Cedar Hill, but on a personal journey, you actually stepped outside the box. You wrote some stuff down, and all of a sudden, it turned into something special. I'm trying to give, give it to you and give you an assist for you to be able to lift up what I'm teasing the audience with. But you wrote some stuff down, and what happened with those words?
Yes, I turned it into a book.
Okay.
And the name of my book is The Heart, Hands, and Harmony of a Teacher. Because, and like you said, I had some thoughts, some experiences. I wrote them down in the book. The life that we live, it's a life of service to our families, to our students, to the community. And it is an honorable profession. And, like I said, it was in me from a very young age. I'm very fulfilled in what I do. And so the charge or the challenge for myself is to bless other people through my experiences. So when I wrote the book, I wrote it with a new teacher in mind. However, it really applies to anybody, not just a new teacher, but also to an experienced teacher, any educator. And also I've had people in other industries to use my book as a book study as well. So like in the professional in business and other fields as well. So it really has expanded to other professions as well. But I wrote it with the new teacher in mind because we need teachers. We need good teachers. We need to support them so that they can stay in the field and ultimately bless our students, which ultimately blesses the community. So
nice.
Yes.
And was there a reason behind the title? I mean, how did you come up with?
Well, what I looked at is it's just a recurring theme that came through. So the heart of the teacher talks about the love that we have for our students and for the work that we do. And then the hands has to do with the work because you have to have both. Mm-hmm. So we love our students that we work with. We love what we do, but at the same time, we know that there's a craft to it, to do it well. And so the hands, that talks about that work. Okay. And then the harmony has to do with just us as individuals overall in the balance of life so that we can be happy and healthy so that we can serve our students and serve our community. So that's the harmony part of it.
I love that.
Yes.
And if anyone is interested to get this book?
It is available on Amazon.
Okay.
Yes, The Heart, Hands, and Harmony of a Teacher.
And the author is?
The author is Trevina Nelson, Dr. Trevina Nelson.
I got to put doctor on.
That's right.
Fancy, as someone who is deeply involved in our community, how do you see the support and kindness in Cedar Hill impacting families?
That's a really great question. So I do have a story to answer that question because it will be forever in my memory, my heart. We were doing a Bible study at home with my children about Jesus feeding the 5,000. So I don't know if y'all know that story, but he's preaching to the masses, right? And the disciples come up to him and he's like, these people are getting hungry. Like, let's send them home. Like they need to eat. And Jesus is like, you feed them. He's like, what do you have? And they say, well, we have these fish and loaves. And he prays, he breaks it, and he's able to feed the people. Like the baskets just never go empty. And so we challenge our children, like, what can we do? Like, what can we do to when we read this, what do you feel like the Lord's putting in your heart to do? And so we went through our pantry. We had like canned goods, like, y'all know everybody has canned goods. You don't use the canned goods in your pantry. So we pull from that, and we have this cart that you could roll, this rolling cart. So we stuck canned goods on there. We put it outside with the sign that says, take what you need, leave what you can. And so we would like roll it out there in the evening and like in the morning, or roll it out in the morning and then bring it in the evening. And over time, people were like putting stuff out. Like I'd go out there and there was like diapers on there or like formula and like things, it would just change, cereal. And so little by little we'd add to it, and we'd add like an umbrella, and we'd still wheel it in and out. And one morning I come outside and I don't see it. And I'm like, where's the cart? So I call my husband and I'm just like, did you not wheel the cart out? Like, and he's like, I did. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I think someone stole it. Like, who would steal a cart, So I wouldn't recommend this, but I was with my daughter and the garbage man passed by. So I'm like, we're going to go ask them if they took our blessing cart, And so I wait till he stops and I ask him and he's like, no, ma'am, I don't even know what you're talking about. So we're driving home. I'm with my daughter. We're driving down the street and her response was so like, who would do that, Mom? Like, why would they do that? Like we are trying to do something nice. And so part of me, I'm like angry, like I'm frustrated because I'm like, that's so ridiculous, but I can't let her view life like that, So I look at her and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, some people do evil things. Like they're just mean, but that should never keep us from doing good, like ever. So let's just rebuild. We'll just start again. No big deal. So this time we'll have the community help. So I posted on Nextdoor app. I posted on Facebook and like someone catches wind and like tells Channel 11 and they like come and interview us. So we're on the news at this point. And, when that airs on the news, people just start sending money and like we get like over $1,000 and we're like, okay, we'll take it and build something more secure on the fence. So we secure it there and we do it, and at this point we have tons of food. Like we had so many donations. I had to like put everything in my garage to like, okay, well, if that goes down, we'll just keep refilling. The blessing box is what we call it. And so around this time, I get emotional telling this story, so forgive me, but it was like January 2021 and the storm hits, right? So like, I know my neighbors at this point. I know like my neighbor's mom who has to be on oxygen and needs power, needs comfort, needs the heat, and she's in her house like cold, and just knowing like some of my neighbor situations and not having power during that time. So no one can drive anywhere, no one can go anywhere. And I go out to the blessing box and I have to take a picture of this because there were footprints coming from every direction to the blessing box. And I just like broke because a part of me is like the scripture that me and my kids and my husband like read together came alive, through that blessing box. Like all we had were these 2 fish and loaves, all we had were these canned goods.
So there's always enough.
And it was always enough. And the blessing box to this day has never gone empty.
That really moves me. I've heard about the blessing box. I don't know if I actually heard that version of it. So I'm glad we was able to record that and have it for, anyone who's listening. Yeah. You never know how far this can reach, right? Yeah. So I'm hoping if there's anyone in need, we have a place that they can go, or maybe you can actually start something in other communities for them to be able to have a blessing box as well to help others. I tell you, it takes a whole community in order for us to be able to, keep things to progress and move forward. I'm gonna use that same January 2021. Here I am, in my first term as mayor. We got to freeze. The whole state is literally frozen over. We have, in and out of electricity from different people. But I'm going to tell you, from the mayor's office, I have had so many neighbors to check on other neighbors in their neighborhood, bring them into their house to be able to make sure that they're warm, had food, call our fire department if we need to drive on this ice to go and pick them up. We had warming stations in Cedar Hill. So, it just goes to show how we're working together as a team. Yeah. Even though we're not communicating, we're not on the phone and talking about what each others are doing, but it's so beautiful to know, how our community can be able to come together and flourish, in a safe, clean environment. So anyway, that's a beautiful story. So thanks for sharing that.
For the episode 5, right in the middle of the season, we have Born and Raised.
I am joined by 2 incredible leaders, my friends, who like me were born and raised and serve in the communities that they grew up in. With us today, we have Mayor Rachel Proctor of DeSoto, Texas. Mayor Proctor is known by her community as a dynamic leader and a public servant. Her work goes beyond politics, too. She is a 2-time published author and provides events, programs, and mentorship to help women entrepreneurs get their start. Her passion for health and wellness also led her into opening Salata Salad Kitchen, bringing more healthy food options to her community. Also, I am thrilled to welcome State Representative Tony Rose. She represents the 110th District, which includes the communities of Oak Cliff, Pleasant Grove, Balk Springs, here in Dallas County. Her legislative focus includes important issues like mental health reform, access to affordable health care, and criminal justice reform. In 2023, she was recognized as the most influential woman in Texas House by the Texas Tribune. Ladies, thank you for joining me here in the Elevate Effect. Welcome to Poetic Justice Studios. So, you have 2 books. Real quickly, can you tell us about the 2 books that you authored? Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah. No, I wrote 2 books. So I authored my very first book, which was my Your Best Year Ever, 12 Steps to Help You Make This a Year to Remember. Then I have my To Achieve List, which is an action guide, and it's a journal. It's more like a workbook to help people to be able to take a new look on how we spend our time. I'm big on, I do a lot of business coaching because I'm an entrepreneur by trade in terms of what I do every day. And a lot of things that I hear from people is I just don't have the time. But Oprah gets the same amount of time. Beyonce has the same 24 hours. Time is literally the only level playing field that everybody has. And so it's about learning how to plan your days out. And sometimes we think, I'm going to set my goals for the year. But you have to literally set goals all the way down to the very hour and how you're going to spend your time. Time is just like a budget. You have to tell it where to do. Just like you allocate your dollars for your money, you have to allocate your time in the same way. Also looking at how to create margin in your day for life to happen. Right? You can't just pack your whole day full of goal setting things. And then when life happens, your whole plan is derailed for the day. So looking at how to create not even really balance, but more so a rhythm throughout your day to be able to balance life happening versus actually moving yourself towards your goals.
I'm gonna dig a little deeper again.
Sure.
I mean, both y'all have accomplished a lot. There's an entrepreneurship, journey that you're on right now. Could you tell us about that? And also, is there a why? Is there a why that you chose this entity to partner with?
Sure. So my journey is one of that. I've never worked in corporate America. I have no frame of reference for it. So again, I mentioned my dad was a pastor. He was a businessman. And so he's always had businesses. So we actually still have a learning center in the city of Dallas in the Oak Cliff area that's been in business for over 30 years. My sister and I took over as co-owners around 2009 when my dad started to get sick. So we've always either worked in the family business or had entities of our own that we've always worked with. And so entrepreneurship is really all I know. And it's that I really, really love. And so for me, when I was looking at what business I wanted to start next and what I wanted to do next, because as entrepreneurs, we're always kind of thinking ahead to what's the next thing. In 2017, I think it's my lifestyle. So it's really organic to me. But I wanted to start a salad bar. I wanted to do a concept and I'm kind of pinching myself now because Salad and Go actually took my concept. So that's what they say. When you don't act on it and you don't move on it, somebody else will take the idea, right? So it was actually very similar to what Salad and Go is doing now. And that was around 2017. I remember getting with TRG, which is the restaurant group. We were working on a concept and it just became so overwhelming for me because, again, I've not been in the restaurant business, but I'm always willing to explore and learn. And so I kind of put it on the back burner. And then in 2022, I just kind of woke up one day and had this itch. And I said, you know what? I want to pick my dream up of doing a salad concept. And so my brother and I were talking. He was like, well, why don't you just do a franchise? That's easy. You can go in, you can do the systems. You're familiar with how franchises run. So just look for a good franchise. So I started looking around and came back to some place that I eat all the time and it never really dawned on me until T mentioned that, which was Salata. And so I just started exploring. I just started getting into it, called their business development manager and got the ball rolling. And so last month, actually, we opened up our first location. And so I have an area development agreement for 3. And so we just opened up our first location in Midlothian. And so we're working on our next 2 now. And so it's been a learning journey, but it's been incredible. What I love about being able to have this particular business is that I'm proud of what we're able to bring to the community and proud of what we're able to serve and feel good about the food that we're serving. I don't think that when people say your communities are a food desert, I don't think we're a food desert because we have access to food. I do think we are a healthy food desert. We don't have access to a lot of the healthier foods to make it easier for people to have access to quality foods and things that are going to do their bodies good. And so to be able to bring it to our communities has been a great feeling for me.
I like that. I was hoping that the why has something to do with healthy food desert. So you hit that. And I don't want you to leave out of here without knowing that Cedar Hill is open for business. I know you said that you had 3 locations. I just want to put it out there.
Duly noted.
So something that you have influenced me was mental health reform. We had a lot of talks before I became mayor. You may not know that I was listening and paying attention, but once I became mayor, I was able to see things in a different lens, because as mayor, we're seeing the reports, we're actually seeing how things actually led up to a lot of the cases that we have seen. So it was important to me to be able to find some sort of an outlet for our public safety to be able to go and have a mental health check or mental health counseling or something of that nature. Well, we have that now here in Cedar Hill, and it's a regional program. So I don't know if you're aware of that right now, but regionally, we are trying to make mental health cool. But in order for you to be able to take the lead on a legislative level, what personal experiences or encounters have driven your passion for this cause?
You know, I believe it was my professional career. Once my colleague, was like, what better way to impact mental health? I just started thinking of the things that I could do. And so one of my goals when I became a legislator was to always try to work to get more hospital beds for patients who needed services. And I actually did better than that. I was able to secure funding to build a new hospital here in Dallas. It's going to be for the North Texas region, and it's called the North Texas Behavioral Health Center at UT Southwestern. And so it's in the process of, you go down, it's right on the corner of Harry Hines and Medical is that Medical Center? Yeah, Medical District, right at the corner. And so it's I think it's one of, I've had some great accomplishments, but I think that one is really, really heartfelt, because working in the jail, seeing patients who really are individuals who did not need to be in the jail setting. When I pass by there, I just kind of almost tear up, because I know that the benefits of that facility being here in Dallas County is going to really serve a lot of people.
Is that the pediatric hospital?
No, they have a pediatric wing, but they're going to do a pediatric wing over in the mental health hospital. Wow. I think the pediatric hospital is just, for children with, medical issues, but this is going to help with their mental health issues.
Wow. So if I heard you correctly, you just wanted more beds, and you got a whole new building. I mean, I don't want that to just go by very easily. That's a major accomplishment. Kudos to you, Representative Rose.
Thank you.
Great work. Mayor Proctor, there's an initiative that I'm aware of. You probably have many initiatives since you have served as mayor, and I believe this is something that you have started. But I'm aware that you have this First Lady Brunch initiative. Yes. You kind of want to tell us a little bit about that? You smiling. I don't know why you're smiling about that, but this is huge. What's going on in DeSoto?
So really, we wanted to have an event to where we were looking at what we could do in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but it was also an event to kind of merge with our faith community. And so we have our faith leaders breakfast, which we host every quarter. So it gives our faith leaders. So that's if you are a faith leader that lives in DeSoto or a faith leader that has a house of worship in DeSoto, you're invited to come to those breakfasts to network and to talk to other faith leaders to see what they're doing and how we can support one another, but also to find out what's actually happening in your city, because obviously these things impact your parishioners. And so we wanted to give the faith leaders a chance to come together, but there was nothing really for their wives and for the ladies, right? And so we do this brunch. This will be this past one that we did will be our 3rd year doing it. and it's in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And it's a chance to give everybody a time to come look cute. Our themes is always hats and flats. So the ladies always have on their beautiful pink and their hats and their flats. But really more so than that, it's a chance for us to come together and really become educated and really be a support system and really to honor our survivors and then honor the legacy of the ones that won their battle with cancer. And so each year we partner with Methodist Charlton, and this year we had a panel of doctors to come out, and they were actually able to just answer questions and talk with the ladies. Many of them even talked offline if they were not comfortable with asking their questions publicly. But it was really a time for us to get together and have a wonderful meal and break bread, but also to be able to educate ourselves and further understand ways again that we can support support those that are in the community that are dealing with breast cancer, in any type of cancer really, but primarily breast cancer for the month of October.
Well, I thank you for being so inclusive because your initiative is not really focused only on the city of DeSoto, right, but you have actually reached out to the region. Thank you for doing that. We need more awareness about it. We have friends, loved ones that we care about that has been impacted by breast cancer. So I appreciate you stepping outside the box and doing something special.
Sure,
like that.
yeah. And so I want to, and you said that, so I want to make sure that we understand that when we say first ladies, we also have included the first ladies of each of our neighboring cities. So we have a lot of them come out. Your wife is always, I think she's been with me every year since we started doing it. So it's a time to really come together and really just support one another, and we always have a great time.
Yeah. I'm aware because I gotta pick out these hats every year.
This is the episode 6, Compassion Behind the Badge.
We're talking with not one, but two Chief Reyeses. Joining me is Police Chief Eli Reyes, who has over 30 years of experience in law enforcement, and Fire Chief Rafael Reyes, who leads our city fire and emergency services. Now, tell me, during the interview, I'm looking at the camera, you guys, looking towards me, but how do I distinguish which Reyes I'm talking about?
Well, I mean, if you say good Reyes, then I'll answer. If you say bad Reyes, then he'll answer.
Okay. All right.
We try to beat each other to the punch on that one. Everywhere we go together, it's always, I'm the good Reyes, that's the bad Reyes. So,
got it.
So we're always beating each other trying to beat each other to the punch.
Got it. So we don't.
Or you can say big Reyes and little Reyes. The public safety guy.
All right. So the interview is going to go out to our audience. So whenever they see you on the street, they're going to call you Big Reyes.
Big Reyes.
They're going to call you Little Reyes. So I just want you to
okay
do
with that. I'm okay
You're
with
okay
that.
with that. Okay.
All right.
As far as technology, is there anything that citizens may want to be aware of? Chief, I know you have crime mapping. Is that something you could kind of inform it?
Yeah, so if you go to the Cedar Hill website and go to the police department, right on the front page there, they'll see a crime mapping tool where our community members can click on that tool and it'll populate a map. You have to just choose Cedar Hill because, we are in a Tri-Cities partnership with with Duncanville, DeSoto. So actually the crimes for the whole region will populate on that map. And you can set up the time frames, whether it's 1 week or 30 days or 90 days back, and they'll show you where all the crime is occurring and what types of crime they are. And you can actually put your address in and set up an alert and draw a circle. It'll alert you with any crime that occurs in 1 mile of your home. And you can get a text message or an email to let you know. That way you can stay informed. Because what we want to do is we really want to be transparent in what's occurring in our city, because we think that if our community members know what's going on, they'll be more engaged and they'll be able to share that information more if they know that we're looking for a certain type of crime or a certain type of criminal. So we really want to be transparent in what's going on in our community. We're pretty active on our Facebook page when we have a large police presence somewhere. We make sure we notify the community, what's going on out there. We have a lot of public safety cameras around the city now that help us. If we do have criminal activity occurring in an area, we're able to go back and look. If we have a suspect vehicle, we can go back and look for that vehicle. Partners with the PIDs and HOAs to have those cameras in their neighborhoods. And so I think that, leveraging technology as a force multiplier has really benefited us as a city in a whole and helping with that crime reduction effort.
Nice. One of the things I'd like to highlight, Mayor, is a program called Community Connect, which we're getting ready to roll out. The Community Connect program is a program where our citizens and business owners will be able to actively enter information regarding their business or their personal homes. One situation that as an example is, let's say mom lives in the back bedroom and mom is disabled. Our citizen will be able to enter that information into Community Connect, and our responding units will get that alert as they're responding. And it's a way of, again, leveraging technology and making sure that we use that technology to save lives. Community Connect will also be able to highlight businesses and information that business owners may want the fire department or the police department to get while en route to an emergency location. But we're getting ready to roll that program out, and I think it's going to be something that's going to be extremely useful for our citizen and for businesses.
The episode 7 was about fatherhood, fitness, and flying.
And who better to talk about this than someone who has dedicated over a decade to empowering dads and their kids. Today, we have a special guest, Mr. John Mays, the president of All Pro Dads in Cedar Hill, an initiative that brings fathers and male mentors together to support students in Cedar Hill Independent School District. I want to pivot a little Easter egg for all of you out there, but there's been a new initiative that has taken off, and I'm not sure who's the founder, who's the visionary. Hopefully we can be able to get that answer today, but something amazing has came upon us. Now, let me preface by saying, I went to Cedar Hill High School. That's why I graduated. There was no All Pro Dads presence there. But there's also new programs that is now in the school district that wasn't there, obviously, when I was there. And you are putting scholars in position to get licensed. Now, we ain't talking about driver license, but you want to kind of expound on what I'm kind of leaning towards?
Sure, absolutely, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for bringing that up. I mentioned I've been in the aerospace industry most of my career.
So you are a pilot?
I'm a pilot.
Okay.
A year ago in January 2024, I formed a company, nonprofit company called Cedar Hill Dads Aviation. So what we do is this. We want to offer our kids through the CTE, our Career Technical Education Department, an opportunity to get into the aviation industry. There are so many opportunities in the aviation industry. There's scarcity everywhere. Pilots, air traffic controllers, drone operators, mechanics, dispatchers. We want to start in CHISD, and not just there, but also in other districts in this best Southwest area.
So if there's a scholar, is there an age limit?
Yes.
Okay.
So right now, as we speak, and certainly when this airs, we are starting a drone program with CHISD. We've been working on this for a couple of months.
Okay.
So our plan is this. So we start with drones. That's the easiest point of entry.
And let me, I don't know if everybody knows this, but we see drones, flying around all the time. But you can't just go to Walmart and buy a drone.
Yes.
You have to actually have a license to fly a drone.
Yes,
so I'm not
absolutely.
sure if everybody knows that.
You're absolutely right. It's called a Part 107 certificate.
Okay. If you get a drone license, our public safety, our police department, our fire department, if there's a brush fire and our trucks can't get to it, well, we have our fire department has a drone.
Yes.
And the drone can fly over and, kind of give them an assessment, what's the best point of entry. If there's a police department and there's a kid's missing and we know that they're in the fire, they're in the forest. Well, again, a licensed drone operator can put a drone up, change the screen to infrared, right?
Yes.
So they could look for, warm bodies in the forest, and to be able to give us coordinates, and we go out there and we go rescue the child. So I just, as you're preparing these scholars, these drones can be actually used to be a career.
Absolutely.
And obviously, if you're a pilot, you can also be a career as well. So.
Absolutely. There are so many drones. There are three things that are really, really hot right now. Drone operations, not only commercial, but also rescue and operations and surveillance and things like that. Air traffic control, we already know that there's a shortage of air traffic control, and of course piloting.
Yeah.
The episode 8 was Purpose and Practice.
But behind every hospital is a leader responsible for navigating the big picture. That kind of leadership requires compassion and dedication. And today, I am honored to be joined by someone who embodies all of these. Michael Stewart, the president of Methodist Charlton Medical Center. Michael brings over 20 years of healthcare leadership to this role, along with a background in mechanical engineering, an MBA from UT Austin, and 4 years of service in the U.S. Air Force, where he rose to the rank of captain. Michael, welcome to the Elevate Effect.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm really glad to be here and humbled by the opportunity to participate in your podcast.
You know, I was hoping that you was going to bring it up, but I'm actually glad to put it out there. But it's my understanding that we're the only one, I think maybe in all the state of Texas, that we have 2 robots.
Yeah, so we have, a lot of organizations have robots, and so I don't want to say we're the only ones. I will say we have 2 robots that not everyone. So the HIFU I talked about earlier is we're the only ones in the Dallas-Fort Worth today. Now, there are a couple other systems that are right on our heels, but when we talk about the level of technology, we actually have more than 2 robots at the hospital. We have Da Vinci robot that's used, the ports that you see for minimally invasive services. And then we have the Rosa orthopedic robot, and then we have the HIFU robot. And then there are a couple other pieces of equipment that we're bringing into the southern sector. And so, but I think all of the hospitals in the Dallas-Fort Worth area are somewhere along that continuum of having some type of robot-assisted surgery. So I don't want to say we're the only ones, but when we talk about the southern sector, we're it, right? I mean, what's between 20 and, Loop 9?
Right. So just so I can communicate with the listeners, because I don't know myself. So when I hear that you have these robots, these are actually robots who are conducting the surgeries to assist. Are they?
They're assisting. They're assisting. So we don't have artificial intelligence. No one's coming and saying, Mayor Mason, welcome. Let me start cutting on you. No. These are pieces of machines that assist the surgeon. There's always a surgeon that's leading and that's taking that's doing the surgery, but they're robotic assisted surgeries to help with the accuracy, the angles, and the placement of the equipment.
Wow. So I don't even think I even seen this on TV. So I don't know if we need to have like a Methodist Charlton MD reality show. Let me patent it first before you do it.
Understood.
Finally, what is your why? What gets you out of bed in the morning, ready to lead and make a difference?
Well, as I think about that question from a professional standpoint, I have to interplay with the personal. So I have a 10-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter, which you've had a chance to meet. And as I think about the world that I want to leave them, I think about me doing what I can to make it a better place. And so my calling is healthcare. And so when I get up in the morning, I think about them and making sure that they know that their dad did everything he could to make the world a better place. Then I think about the staff at the hospital, the ones that are there in the 11th hour, putting in the extra effort, having the conversations with people who, as we talked about, aren't always in their best position, but they know that they've got to be the one to go above the fray and do what's necessary. I had a story just told to me today about a truck driver just literally drove up to our dock a few years ago. And the driver got out and said, I need help. And this dock worker, who's not clinical at all, was like, I got you, right? And did everything he can. The guy ended up having a heart attack. And we saved his life because he got him to the emergency room, got him connected with the right people. And that truck driver, he said, has come back 3 times to say thank you.
Wow.
Right? And so that's what gets me up in the morning. Just making sure that our team has the opportunity to save a life, to make a difference in their life, to make sure that we recently had someone in our hospital who coded in the field, which means they went down an emergency crews where they're trying to do CPR, trying to do defibrillators, but they were gone before they got to the hospital. But when they got to the hospital, we tried to wrap that family up with love, right? So much so that our pastoral care person, who I asked, I said, make sure you talk to that family. She got invited to speak at the funeral because that family was just so appreciative of us having team members there to wrap our arms around them and just hold them as they lost one of their family members.
Right.
And so those are the stories that I'm like, wow. When it's tough, when the days I deal with budgets, I deal with regulatory environment, and all I got to do is walk the hallways.
Right.
And I see the men and women at Charlton doing everything they can to help someone make it back to their loved one. That's a mom, a dad, a brother, a sister. And that's what gets me fired up.
Wow. And the episode 9, Driving Opportunity.
Tommy Hendricks, Executive Director of Star Transit, and Kim Britton, their Deputy Executive Director. Star Transit is a public transportation provider that connects people across Dallas County and beyond. And today, we are talking about how their initiatives affect you, the listeners. Tommy and Kim, welcome to the Elevate Effect. Originally, Kim, this was what I thought was more for seniors, but it appears that it's for all kinds. Can you kind of break it down?
Sure. So we are considered public transportation. So anyone can ride our vehicles as long as they're 13 or above, to be able to ride by themselves. Because we're public, it's for anybody. And so we're seeing more work trips. We're seeing more younger adults going to their first jobs or to college. And so, we've changed from a marketing standpoint. We've also kind of changed that a little bit so that it's not just because from a marketing standpoint, especially when I first started, it was always, oh, you're for elderly, disabled, riders only. No. And we still get that on occasion, but we're for everybody. And so we really have tried, like our Star Now service is branded different than what our demand response is branded. So from that standpoint, we've been trying to attract more or even just educate residents on that anybody can use it.
So when you say Uber style, are you saying I can pull up my phone, push an app, and get service?
Absolutely. Okay. And so we have our Start Out app. You can get it on Google or Apple. Okay. Download it, open it, you get yourself registered, and then you can book your trips as long as you're within the zone. And so that zone includes the city limits of Cedar Hill. And in this area, it also includes Duncanville and DeSoto.
Okay. And the name of that app again is?
Star Now.
Star Now.
Star Now.
Yep.
Okay.
And, the other thing that I'll mention, because you talked about the original, not purpose or intent, but incorporating that senior service, right? Something that was important to the city. And that's a big thing that we do every day. We've got a good group of seniors in Cedar Hill that we take to the senior center every single day. And if it's not the senior center, it's the rec center. And so kudos to the city for providing those amenities to the citizens so they have access to that. And in fact, we're, here at the new library, our vehicles are in and out of here. Maybe not every day, but on a weekly basis, we're taking people up to this city facility as well.
Yeah. And we weren't real sure, especially when we started our Star Now service, if our seniors, the older adults, would utilize this service, and they are. Seniors are not what we used to think as being seniors, that they're using their smartphones, they're using those apps, they're educating themselves, and so we do see quite a few seniors that utilize that service too. So it truly is meant for anybody.
So I'll tell you, when I first became mayor, prior to me pursuing the office of mayor, there used to be a motorized wheelchair driving up and down our sidewalks. And we don't have sidewalks, everywhere. So those motorized wheelchairs would be on the shoulders of the streets, going to place. I imagine they're going to grocery store and things like that. And it's always been on my heart that, I don't know how far this motorized wheelchair is going, but I've seen it very often. When I pursue the office of mayor, thankful for the voters to allow me to be able to serve in this capacity. I did a senior survey, and I actually put together a committee, and some feedback that we got back from that was some sort of a type of transportation. So you're absolutely right, Alan. It was really more of, I need to have transportation for our seniors. That was the initial plan, initial vision for that. Then we ended up, seeking partnership such as Star Transit, and you shared with us that we're a public transportation agency. We just can't, isolate just for one type of community, which I appreciate you doing that. But I am so proud to know that our seniors are taking fully advantage of it, and I imagine it's probably both promotions on both the public transit agency and also Cedar Hill is also getting the information out.
Absolutely.
Would you kind of like to expound on a little bit of how is Cedar Hill, know what Star Transit is?
You want to take that?
Sure.
That's more Kim's wheelhouse.
So, in the beginning, because we are public transportation, we have to go through certain processes because of how we're funded through grants through the city. So we have to do a public involvement process. So even prior to us launching, we did a lengthy meetings with the citizens. What are they looking for? What are their needs? And plus we use that time as education and the fact that we're getting ready to launch service. So we've done billboards, we've done magazine ads. The city has been super supportive. I mean, and what we've realized is that when the city supports this service, it is successful. And so because of what the city has done, city staff, and the support that we've gotten all around, that's how people know. Doing things like this. We have these kinds of opportunities. Anytime I tell people all the time, anytime I have a chance to talk about public transportation, I'm going to, because I believe in it and I believe in what it does and, and the people that it benefits. So just traditional marketing, what other people do, we do as well. So again, anytime we have a chance to support city events, we sponsor city events.
Thank you for that.
Chamber, we're members of the chamber, so we do our best to get out and about and be good partners.
I want to encourage our community to build wealth for our families and future generations. The art is not about making money, but in keeping it. Save, invest smart, and build generational wealth. See you next time. Thank you.